Welcome to the Tact Talks podcast, a place where some of the most innovative and fastest growing companies in the Northwest are telling us what they're up to and hopefully imparting some wisdom on people looking to pursue a career in technology. I'm joined today by Mike Cullen from iVendi's. Hi Mike, how you doing?
Hi, very well. And yourself?
Good, yeah, not bad at all. I've been told I sound very radio-y on this, so sorry if it...
Smooth FM.
yeah. So no, look, I think just to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing at the minute?
Yeah. So, my name's Mike, as you mentioned. My remit is talent and recruitment, effectively. So I was kind of brought on board to kind of help really kind of identify and own kind of what we're doing from a recruitment perspective and really kind of give that some focus. Because we knew that we were going on a huge kind of recruitment kind of drive, really. So that's always been the plan, and we're kind of in the heat of it at the moment, really. So it's a really exciting time at the minute.
Amazing, cool. And so your title at the minute, is it recruitment manager? Is that right?
Talent and recruitment manager.
Talent and recruitment manager.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've had quite an extensive career and varied career, if judging from your LinkedIn. We've talked about it before. So could you tell us, I guess, your journey to where you are now and what you've been up to? Yeah.
So the natural career path for someone in HR and recruitment, early days, I actually joined the Armed Reserves and then went full-time as a kind of a full-time reservist in the REME, but the worst kind of army mechanic in the world. I kind of realised that I'm not technical whatsoever.
Fair enough.
And fairly quickly within that kind of stint, I then kind of joined the recruitment team. So looking at the kind of exhibitions and taking the wagons to different events and stuff like that. And
right,
that was the bit that kind of I probably excelled in a bit more than actually being on the tools. So I kind of picked that up a little bit. Did a bit of a stint in the kind of police afterwards as a custody detention officer and stuff like that. So just kind of a bit of a varied career, kind of very different things, kind of quite public sector-y kind of things. And then I come out of the police after a little while. I was there for about 18 months, 2 years, just with a view to kind of getting some kind of commercial a kind of awareness and kind of commercial experience. And then there's a guy who approached me who was looking to kind of recruit ex-forces and get them into, they had a training academy to get them into recruitment. So it was cool. a rec to rec kind of model. Because obviously I had a bit of a military background, although it's not an illustrious 20-year career, I had an understanding of it. And then the recruitment piece, he'd kind of picked up on that, and that was kind of joined up the dots for me. So I'd never really looked at going into it. I'd never really kind of, thought about, being a recruitment consultant, a commercial recruitment consultant, but I did that for a little while and then realized placing trainees is great, but kind of wanted to broaden my horizons really. So kind of moved into the digital and tech space with a company called Searchability, and then did that for 4 years. And then kind of, I think that the bit that was missing for me was really kind of seeing, once you'd place people in, how they developed and grew. So that was the bit that I kind of, the bit that I hadn't had any exposure to initially. And the bit that I wanted to kind of then see for myself really. And that's why I kind of chose to go in-house with iVendi's and then, not look back ever since really.
Wow, that's amazing. And how long have you been at iVendi's for now?
Just under 2.5 years now in total.
Brilliant. So enjoying it, and obviously.
Yeah, no, really enjoying it. Kept busy all the time. I think that the key bit for me, you probably see it on the careers page and stuff, is when, you've got ideas and you get kind of absolutely great. You get the backing from them from, right from the top, and you can kind of run with that. So that kind of autonomy and flexibility to kind of do things the way you want to and not having someone breathing over your shoulder is a key bit for me, especially when you're learning.
Sure.
And especially when you're kind of picking up new skills in a new kind of area with, you've got the recruitment element that I was brought in to do, and then I've kind of taken over the HR side of things as well, which is kind of a natural transition as well. And that kind of links into my kind of formal learning through CIPD and stuff like that. And it's all kind of, it's been a really good experience and an intro into, I suppose, the HR world, which I know recruitment quite well, but it's the HR bit that I'm kind of learning and have been learning over the past 2 years to get myself kind of, up to speed and knowledgeable on it.
Incredible. That sounds like just a kind of a running thread through everyone that I know who works at iVendi's. And after meeting Richard, one of the co-founders and the COO, he's so passionate about training people up and developing them and almost like allowing them naturally like water to go into the places they want to.
Yeah,
it's quite cool.
Yeah, no, I think definitely, and I think for those who are most successful at iVendi and in a lot of organizations, it's about, I suppose, being proactive, spotting an opportunity, running with it for a little bit, kind of almost trialing it, working out what could work, what might not work and stuff like that, and kind of really kind of running with it initially, not for a long time, but saying, right, okay, here's what we've got here, here's what I think we could do, and come back with a solution as opposed to just identifying the problem. That's the key bit, really. I think that kind of the more successful people do a little bit better, and what works really, really well with an iVendi. So if you've got an initiative or something that you want to push forward, go out, trial it first, start to do some kind of a little bit of digging around it, and then come back and say, do you know what, I've started to do this is what I think it could do, and then you will get back in 100% for that. But also on the flip side, if you spot something and you've got a solution for it, be prepared to run with it as well, because if you've identified it, then generally you're probably the best person or the best place to be able to kind of run with that as well. So watch what initiative you come up with.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. But that's so many people that we speak to who are looking to leave jobs, and especially with engineering, is not having that freedom to ideas not being listened to, or the freedom to run with stuff or whatever. And again, speaking to people at iVendi, that is definitely part of your culture and what you push. Exciting times for iVendi, definitely. Could you tell us a little bit about what's going on at the minute? And
yeah. So we've got, I suppose, a couple of things going on at the minute. We've got, I suppose, the internationalization piece, which is, I know kind of Dan's been kind of talking about that, in a lot more detail, but the trials and tribulations of, scaling out a tech platform, across multiple countries, multi-tenanted, multi-region. So there's the nuances and the kind of accelerator weeks that we've had around that, and, the kind of the excitement around new tech and what we're going to be doing. There's the excitement with, I suppose, the scaling up, but a little bit of nervousness as well, because I think everyone's slightly apprehensive, because as soon as you go through that kind of scaling up phase, there's always that worry that you're going to go through a load of growing pains and it's going to be really difficult and stuff. But that was obviously part of the reason for bringing Dan on board and taking a pragmatic approach to it. We're not going to move too quickly with it, because we've just learning from every other company, and partly what iVendi's done in the past when they've grown out quite quickly is about having the right kind of structures and people in place to make sure that is as painless as possible. There's always going to be teething and pains, but that's going to be a really exciting time as well. Just bringing on, we've got some amazing people in iVendi, but it's bringing on other people as well who are on their kind of level, wavelength, and can really kind of add value. So we've kind of set the bar high, but they're welcomed with open arms once we've kind of identified them, really.
I think from an engineering point of view, some of the people you've hired recently are some of the best techies in the Northwest, like 100%. And Dan, and as you mentioned, Dan, he's got an eye for talent, and he does attract very, very good people. I think for any engineer coming into the team at iVendi, it's an exciting environment to be in. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of talented people, lots of creative ideas, lots of kind of different ways of doing things. Obviously, typically best of breed tech, and obviously that kind of definitely does help. But yeah, I think it's an exciting time all around. There's lots of new products. There's still lots of technical debt and BAU stuff that we need to do, but we're identifying it and we're kind of paying that off kind of as we go through this as well. So as part of the £17 million reinvestment from the kind of company's profit, so they're reinvesting back into the business. We've got kind of 12 million dedicated to new product development, and 5 is kind of a BAU. So we've actually got a decent chunk of that, to try and pay off some of the tech debt that we've accrued over the past 10 years, or 11 years now. But yeah, I think that kind of pragmatic focus as well, even down to where we're budgeting and where we're focusing, the finances as well, because obviously that's what kind of keeps things ticking along, shows that we're trying to do it, well, we are doing it in the right kind of scalable way, in a measurable way, to make sure that we're not just kind of running at all the new shiny stuff and forgetting everything else, and everything else falls over, Sure. So I think that hopefully, kind of gives you some kind of security in the knowledge of we're doing things in the right way, or as best we can,
Yeah, absolutely. And an interesting point again, I think, especially for getting someone like you on the podcast, I think it's interesting to to discuss how, I guess, the challenges that come with hiring so quickly and so aggressively.
Yeah.
And I think you mentioned one of them there, that, you know, the growing pains you do get.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you counteract those when hiring so many people?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that we've kind of identified to try and ease that pain and really, I suppose, kind of get people up to speed more for their own sake, is to really kind of focus on the onboarding process. So we've got kind of the onboarding process doesn't change from people in administration, marketing, sales, software engineering, design, product management, whatever that may be. We have the same kind of bedding in process effectively. So people gain the understanding across the business, so they kind of understand who our customers are, and, you know, how they come through, why they come through, what, you know, what's the competitive landscape and stuff like that. They kind of cover all of these different elements and go into detail then about our kind of different kind of product areas. And we find that is really quite refreshing. You know, for a lot of people who we onboard, they kind of still don't know why people buy this stuff and who their end customers are and how it all works, because they kind of really get siloed within their particular area. And it doesn't have to be from a technical point of view. It could just be in, you know, in marketing. It could be, you know, support, whatever it may be. Understanding how the business operates and having that kind of, you know, commercial understanding and awareness really just helps. Right, okay, so the customer comes over there, or, you know, this happens over this side of the business and that has a knock-on effect to me. It kind of helps that kind of contextual thinking, which hopefully should help people overall. But yeah, it's that really kind of good and thorough bedding process and onboarding process, so they understand and they know about iVendi straight within the first kind of couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of more kind of on the job based stuff, then kind of, you know, pairing up with people from a, you know, a tech perspective and tech point of view, getting involved in the kind of stand-ups and, you know, however that kind of team operates, because they're all slightly different, but kind of getting those integrated into straight from the off, basically, into those kind of different ways of working and stuff, you know, and getting kind of eyes on. So I think that is a key differentiator and a key thing that we're always trying to improve. But I think that's something that we do quite well to get people up to speed, that we've had really good feedback on.
Yeah.
We used to kind of, I suppose, in the heat of the pandemic and COVID and stuff like that, we were remotely onboarding.
Right.
But what we found was it still wasn't as good. You know, they felt great within that, and they were getting lots of knowledge and stuff. And then as soon as the computer was switched off at the end of the day, on the first day, it was just like, I'm still kind of just here working remotely and stuff that. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of, that was, you know, some of the feedback that we got. So we've actually changed it now. We have kind of inductions, like 2-day inductions over in our headquarters in Colwyn Bay.
Of course.
We obviously, it's all expenses paid. We put people up. So they come over on the day one, they'll be with us, and it's a bit more kind of slow time. Then it's a bit more kind of manageable. They go through and physically meet the people in the different departments. So in the client delivery center, in sales, in marketing, in compliance, governance, risk and compliance, and they kind of meet them and forge those relationships that hopefully then, if they need to speak to them, especially from a support route, you're looking at kind of first and second line support. That then goes up to escalates into the development teams. So you're looking at, well, yeah, that could be a key relationship for some people, especially within software engineering. So knowing that Ian, who heads that up, is a really approachable, lovely guy, will share all the knowledge and information that he can with you. It just makes life a little bit easier for them, and hopefully then people feel more comfortable to then reach out as and when they need to then, because that's not the be all and end all. That's not where it stops. That's just the start of the relationship across the different stakeholders within the business, you know? Yeah. So that kind of process hopefully works. Well, we think it works really, really well. And the feedback that we've had is not a lot of other organizations are doing that. I was just about to say the same thing. I think we work with some companies that I think that's where they go wrong, is that first week or even first day, having a person on board is so important, because I think people don't realize, especially when you're like a recruitment manager or a talent manager or, whatever, because you're getting so many people started in the business, you forget how much of a big deal it is starting a new job, and it's scary. It's terrifying. You're going into this big group of people, you're the outsider, you're going into this big family. And I think, that overexposure the 2 first days, just getting them
embedded, it must be so valuable because they've like binged out on it then. And you know what I mean? They've got to pull the plaster off and it's done.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think as well, it's, it's testimony to the people that we've got, and, sharing that information and the knowledge. And, I think that's when people start to see, over and above the interview process, how passionate our people are, and kind of, how interested they are in doing what they do, and, providing value to the business, but also that kind of continuous improvement kind of piece across the business as well. Everyone's open to feedback. There's no kind of closed doors, and that's again straight from the kind of senior leadership team and stuff like that. Everyone's super approachable. You meet the owners and stuff. Typically, if one of them's over there as well, but typically Rich is over there in the Common Bay office, so you get that kind of face to face. So you get to meet kind of the key people at that kind of C-level within the organisation. So I think it can only be a good thing, and I think people generally tend to focus on the job, but then that kind of contextual value around that is key, and that will, kind of help people be more valuable and contribute more, I say more quickly in some ways than others. But yeah, we're not just focused on this is the job. We're more focused on what are we trying to achieve. And we've done that kind of more recently through OKR, so objectives and key results, which is just kind of a way of kind of, I suppose, spreading that alignment and kind of having that kind of communicating what the objectives are and what every kind of team departments are striving to do and stuff like that, to have that kind of oversight and kind of view on how everyone is kind of pulling together in the right direction. I think sometimes that, even though we know that we are, just having, some of the missions and kind of objectives around what we're trying to do and how everyone fits into that is just a really good visual to know that we're all pulling in the right direction.
Absolutely. And coming into a lovely office in Common Bay and seeing some of the co-founders walking the floor,
yeah,
that's got to, give you some insight into the kind of company it is.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. Bring your bucket and spade, especially when it's sunny over the summer and stuff like that. But, it's just, again, something that, a little bit different that, we are kind of proud of being based in Common Bay. That's where all of our kind of more kind of operational and client focused areas are. But again, from the software engineering point of view, we've got quite a few who do come over. There's no owners other than obviously the induction, and a couple of kind of quarterly business updates and stuff like that where they can come over. But other than that, it's just a really good space to come and hang out, meet people, forge those relationships. Other than that, obviously they can do it in Manchester and stuff like that, but this is an iVendi's friendly space where everyone's on board with what you're doing. It's not a kind of a shared working space where you're kind of working on that particular thing. Again, it pulls into that kind of holistic view of iVendi's, and that kind of brings in that contextual thinking.
Sure.
That we're all pulling in the right direction. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, going back to you are growing aggressively, which is amazing. It's very exciting, especially for someone coming in, because I think that's almost like your progression's guaranteed because you're going to be growing, and responsibility is going to be given to you that perhaps it wouldn't be at other companies just because of the amount you are growing. And I think what iVendi's have done really, really well, from what I understand, is that they kind of get that there is growing pains with growing quickly, and you've tried to counteract that a lot of times with the onboarding process being one of them. But also, last time we spoke, you mentioned that you've got a dedicated L&D person. Yes, which is incredible, because I think that's a lot of people put it on the job spec saying training progression provided. Yeah. But how do you prove that? But I think you have done.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think training and the learning developments and stuff like that is an interesting one, because I think generally a lot of companies kind of talk about it.
Yeah,
and I think it's easy for, I suppose, when you're in startup mode, because that happens naturally because everything's new, and you have to just kind of pick up new different kind of things and bits of tools and technology and stuff like that, because you're still forming what that looks like. So I think that is a key part of it, but that happens organically and naturally. You don't need to have kind of 10% time or anything around that when you're in that kind of startup phase and startup mode. I think where I suppose iVendi's been, and a lot of companies have been, it's then happened kind of intermittently in kind of pockets. So for those who have had that kind of focus and time to kind of dedicate towards their kind of learning developments and stuff like that, that's then happened intermittently. Some teams more than others, some people more than others. And I think we do see a lot of value in it. So we decided to have a real emphasis and a real focus on learning development by obviously bringing on a head of learning development, who's with us on a part-time basis initially, but yeah, he's looking at kind of helping me help the teams, and he's starting off with some of the softer skills stuff and the leadership management stuff, but then that's going to kind of scope out to everyone in iVendi, because we're looking at softer skills but also the hard skills training as well, and what that can do. And I think, I suppose, again, for probably some of the most successful people within their field, but certainly again within iVendi, they've kind of spent that time and looked at that learning development piece, and they've kind of had an emphasis on their own kind of personal growth and professional development, but we're kind of looking to really support that through the organisation and really kind of drive that as well, just so kind of, I suppose, everyone has got, and everyone does have the same opportunities to do that, but it's kind of reliant on their personality and where they're up to and all that kind of stuff. We're saying, well, actually, we're formalising the 10% time. Let's look at that and make sure that goes across the business and is meaningful and feeds in to the bigger picture and what we're trying to do, and adds value to their skill set, but also to the company and the products and what we're doing. So it's having that kind of focused time. It's all well and good just looking at stuff for 10% of your time or whatever that may be. It's having that real focused time, and it's having the people to kind of talk through what they're looking at, and how they're learning, how they're developing, how they do it best, and really starting with some of the basics as well. What kind of learner are they? How do they learn best? Is it by doing? Is it by kind of reading stuff and looking at stuff? There's multiple different ways of doing that, and that's kind of part of what Hector will be doing as a consultant into the business, is kind of ensuring that has maximum effect. Because I suppose everyone talks about training developments and opportunities and all that kind of stuff. Very few to what I've seen kind of do it well. We're definitely on that path to doing it well, but kind of humble in the way of we're not perfect on it just yet. But having that focus on it will only improve it. Will only make it better.
It's incredible, and I think one of the biggest points of contention for a lot of big hires in tech is that you are losing people. The companies lose people quite frequently because it's tech and that's how the industry is. But someone like iVendi, because you are investing in your teams, that's only going to retain people, and want people to stay, because when we speak with people all the time, the reason they leave is because they feel like they've hit a ceiling, or there's no room for them to grow, or anything like that. And having a dedicated person like what's the person?
Hector. Yeah.
Like Hector. Wow, they're going to feel like they're being invested in, they're going to feel cared for, they're going to feel like they're growing. So why would you want to leave a place like that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I suppose, churn and turnover is an interesting one within tech, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I think, people, again, talk about it and stuff like that, and it's seen as a bit of a side step. But yeah, I think generally people look at churn as a bad thing, but I think you've got to look at and identify the reasons why people are churning. Sometimes there is that natural, that natural, they've kind of been with you for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever that may be, 6 years, 7 years, and there's just that natural, I want to look at something else, I want to work on a different tech, I want to work in a new industry and all that kind of stuff. And I think that kind of healthy churn is totally different to a toxic churn where people aren't kind of feeling fulfilled, kind of getting what they want, getting the support and all that kind of stuff. Two totally separate things. And I think often people put them all in one category. So if you've got 4 people who've left over the past 3 months, and 2 of them have been with you for 5 years plus or 4 years plus, and then the other 2 have only been with you for 6 months, well, it's kind of those 2 that you want to focus on, because there is that kind of life cycle. Very, very rarely nowadays does anyone stay in a job for 20, 30, 40 years. And also, is it healthy to do that? Arguably not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the different types of churn is an interesting one, and we're trying to minimize and make sure that we're not doing that for progression and training development, kind of opportunity based churn. Over they've had a great time, they've learned a lot, they've kind of added a lot of value, and they're now kind of looking for the next challenge. That's absolutely healthy, and we the vast majority of people we kind of shake hands and wish them the best of luck, and we genuinely kind of, all the team wishes them well and stuff like that. Everyone's kind of rooting for them because everyone's got that, itch they've got to scratch, and
Sure.
they might have felt like they've done that at iVendi,
Yeah, amazing point. Absolutely. And you've been at iVendi for
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. So when you first started iVendi, why did you join iVendi? What sold you on the opportunity?
So I think the key bits for me was there's so much potential,
Yeah.
but there's still quite a small-ish kind of company, but they're operating on a huge scale. So being kind of one of the market leaders within kind of automotive tech, automotive finance tech,
Yeah.
and I think there were about 80 when I kind of joined. Kind of split between kind of Colwyn Bay and then kind of the Northwest then. But yeah, it was more the opportunity, and I was just like, there's very, very few. Every company will go through a period where they're at this kind of really happy medium, where they've done a lot of, I suppose, not the hard work, because there's still a lot of hard work to do, but they've got that track record, they've got that kind of stability and security, and they're proven. They're not a kind of a unicorn startup which is just kind of happened overnight. But they've got still so much potential and so much more ambition, and so much more potential to do more.
Yeah.
And that bit for me, I was like, well, yeah, of course I want to be a part of that, because it's the ideal, it's the benefits of kind of working for an established organization, but also the excitement of working in a startup kind of environment, but we're kind of moving more from a startup to a scale up, and that kind of interesting piece, that's typically what a lot of companies struggle with. So if I can kind of help iVendi with that and be part of that, absolutely great. It can only be a great time for me to then say, yeah, we're a global leader within automotive and finance and tech solutions, and I've been a part of that, and I've kind of got a small team that kind of helps facilitate that, and I've helped then develop people into the business and seeing them grow throughout the business, from kind of, I suppose, mid-level or kind of entry-level kind of engineers, as an example, and now they're kind of seniors and tech leads and stuff like that further down the line.
Yeah.
Those are the key elements for me, which I just think, well, it's a why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to join?
Absolutely. And like I said, it's a fairly smallish company, really.
In the grand scheme of things.
But kind of in the process of going over to Europe and expanding over there. But Dan was telling me that you created a product for the German car market.
Yes.
And you voted the best. Sorry, I don't want to butcher this. What voted what? Sorry.
Yeah. So Yahoo.auto is a German car marketplace that we launched in October 2019. In, I think it was August or July or August time, it was voted the best used car marketplace by the German public, which was, a great accolade. It wasn't just from a random kind of awards thing that was kind of sat alongside that we, did a bit of sponsorship with or anything like that. It was actually by the people using it, which was amazing, really. And for it to not have been operating in that space for that long, and, there's other, I suppose, more kind of established companies within the German market, it was great, to be fair. It was really, really good to get that kind of seal of approval, really. But we kind of knew that with Engage. We've got smart and intuitive vehicle search, and we've not seen anything out there globally that is anywhere near the complexity and the sophistication of it. So we knew that was going to be a huge part of why that's been mega successful. But yeah, that was our kind of first dipping our toe in the waters into the European, the international market, really. And it's been amazingly successful and stuff, and it's just given us an appetite to do more. And also, it's got a lot of eyes on from other companies, parents and sister companies like Société Générale Group. They've got hundreds of subsidiary companies within them.
Yes.
This Yahoo.auto was pitched when it first launched into their kind of AGM. There's lots of eyes on it, so having conversations about it with other countries and stuff like that. Rich and James and the VPs are in conversation quite fluidly, because we're now kind of a tier one supplier of such a large group. So that just something like that, you've done a lot of the hard work in terms of the talks and the relationships and the potential side of things, for us, the key bit is just the delivery and getting the right people in the right places. And that's obviously why we're looking to grow so substantially. It's not a vanity metric. It's really to deliver on some ambitious, business targets, but, an ambitious mission.
No, it's, and I think for anybody coming in, I think it's such an exciting time to be part of iVendi, just with everything that's going on. Again, the progression, the way you look after your staff. And again, met Richard, one of the co-founders, and he was so passionate about work-life balance and development. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I wanted to actually ask about. Obviously, you've interviewed quite a few people for iVendi, I assume, because you get involved in the process quite heavily, which is great. For anyone out there, because we want to use this as an opportunity to help people who are either going to pursue a career in tech or who are already in tech and maybe interviewing. Any advice for someone who wants to pursue a career in tech or is perhaps looking for a new job? Anything that you've seen that really works?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of interested, especially when you're looking at entry level who haven't come through the traditional routes or haven't gone through one of the code camps. I think the key factor to really differentiate yourself is actually to start, tech is one of them things that, especially in software and languages and stuff like that, there's so much free information and so many free resources out there. It's kind of, YouTube and, all these kind of other different mediums you can have a look at and start to actually kind of have a play with. It's one of them things where you can create your own little project and kind of, prove that and see if you actually like it, especially at the entry level. If you've not been through traditional education, if you've not been through boot camps or anything like that, have a play with it. There are kind of Udemy and Pluralsight, and there's all these kind of great tools and resources to actually kind of start to train yourself up, and that really kind of differentiates you from someone who's just saying, I fancy a career in software engineering, and I've read it, I like the look of it, as to, well, actually, I've just got my own little project and I've started to work on something and I'm really interested about X, Y, and Z technologies. I really, prefer the server side and the front end, or whatever it may be. So I think that really, so your own kind of learning and your own time and stuff like that will pay dividends, absolutely. And that's how a lot of people, even people who are still in the who are in the industry, are experienced and stuff like that. That's still something that comes up in our kind of interview process. What do you do in your own time? Have you got any personal projects that you work on? Just really kind of piquing people's interest, because the key people who are looking to do more, looking to find more solutions, looking to kind of challenge themselves, they've generally kind of either got an idea of what's out there, and they're kind of active in the tech communities and stuff like that, or they're not active in the tech communities and stuff, but they're really focused on an Internet of Things project, connecting up their own home, and they don't want to use Google Assistants and all that kind of stuff to do it. So we've got people like that who've just kind of created their own apps to sort out their own stuff, and that for me is just mind-boggling. I'm not technical whatsoever, but we've had people just create their own stuff, their own kind of energy efficiency apps and all that kind of stuff, and smart home stuff like that, even though it's not directly relevant to what we're not going into the Hive space or anything like that, but it just shows that kind of next level of kind of proactivity and intelligence, and that kind of doing is a key part. That is for anyone who's looking to go into software engineering, if you're not looking to go on one of the code camps for whatever reason, if you're not looking to, if you don't feel like you've got the time to go through and do the kind of educational route, go through the graduate route and stuff like that, just start playing about with some stuff, Google stuff, just have a look at all the information out there and just find out what really excites you about it, what the potentials are, what the possibilities are, and just see if you enjoy it. That's the only way to describe it, really. A lot of industries and sectors, you can only get experience from actually formally working within there. Tech's totally different. You can just have your side project, start playing about with stuff. It's really unique in that way, where you can kind of get an insight into what it's like without signing up and committing your life to it. So look at stuff in your own time is a key thing, and look at all the free learning resources to separate yourself from someone who's just kind of interested in it.
Amazing. Perfect. Wow. Okay. Great. And again, I'm conscious of time, but one thing that I always like to, again, big on work-life balance at iVendi. I think it's something I always ask candidates when I'm qualifying them for a job, or I always ask hiring managers, because it's a really good insight into the kind of person they are. And obviously you get involved in the hiring process as well. So I think it'd be valuable for people who are perhaps looking at a job at iVendi. When you're not at work, what do you get up to in your spare time? Anything, anything noteworthy?
Me personally?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. What do I get up to in my personal time? Renovating a house at the moment. So,
Yes,
so that takes up quite a lot of my current spare time. Just kind of restarted up boxing.
Nice.
A little bit of badminton, usually going up kind of Movama and things like that, kind of going up for walks and stuff.
Real.
Generally that, and then eating out, the usual stuff.
Yes.
Having a couple of drinks, quite partial to a stout.
Nice. What's your favourite? Any particular favourite?
No, to be fair, because they all change over time, don't they? You know what I mean? Like, other than Guinness, it's like the stalwart of stouts.
Yeah.
If I could do a stout podcast. But basically, they all change all the time. But I just, very rarely do I find the same one time and time again, unfortunately. It's like craft ales and stuff like that. You know what I mean? There's only a handful, a small handful that you can find in different places and stuff. But I think that's I wouldn't class myself as a stout connoisseur. It's not a full time part time hobby. But they're the things that I quite like doing. I think if you looked at, I suppose, the commonalities across the business, the golden thread in terms of hobbies and things that kind of connects people are generally food and drink, and kind of nice places to eat in the kind of, I suppose, in the Northwest, in particular. And we've got kind of Slack channels that kind of share the wealth and the information on that, and the kind of, the little hidden pockets of pizza places and all that kind of stuff. Manchester's great for food and drink. It's amazing for that. So we've got, that is definitely a common theme. You've got the usual kind of sports elements and stuff. I'm not a huge football fan. I prefer rugby myself, but a big kind of football kind of fancy league and stuff like that goes through there as well. But I think the other one's music, randomly, because I'm not musical whatsoever. But we've got we could easily have quite a large scale iVendi band with all of the different musicians that we've got, especially the front enders for some reason. But
creativity maybe.
Probably across the business. We've got quite a few really talented musicians as well, and that's kind of what they do in their own time. And often when we get together for a beer and stuff like that, they're kind of talking about music and different gigs and stuff like that. So that is probably a common theme and a common thread throughout. Yeah,
amazing.
The team at iVendi, but I'm absolutely not part of that. I'll do the triangle. Or
We're not going to ask you to sing, I promise. All right. Amazing. That's brilliant, mate. Well, look, thank you for coming down. I'm really excited.
Thanks for having me.
Really excited to see the team grow over the next 18 months. And great. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers, Jack.
Cheers.